welcome to Doubles and Trebles. I'm Adam Smitho-Smith, and the other man on your screen is Matt Pieman Hill. And today we're here to talk about the Zweeler Fantasy Sports Games. Now, we've already done a video on the Zweeler Fantasy Sports Games a few weeks ago for the Masters, which I know a few of you guys watching got involved in. Pieman actually finished quite high in that table, I think, but we'll possibly come back to that.
I think quite
later.
high, stretching it a little bit, but I've got in the cash just.
Better than me. The Q School is in the bag, and the first tournament of the new dart season proper is the UK Open, which starts on March the 5th here in England. So our friends at Zweeler.com have got a fantasy game for the UK Open itself, and what we're here to talk about mainly today is a fantasy sports games where you pick 18 players across the season that starts at the UK Open on March the 5th and then will end at the World Championships, which will be 2022 by then. So pretty exciting, and there's lots of fantasy games out there already on all different sports, and Zweeler are the only ones that we know of that do it for the darts. So it's right down there, Pieman and myself's avenue, if you like. So that's what we're here to talk about today, and I know you're looking forward to it, Pieman.
Yeah, I am. Cheers, Adam. I had to go on the Masters, as did you, and managed to nick in the cash and get a little bit of profit from my entry. I had good fun along the way as well. This game is looks like a really good way for me to take if you wanted to take a casual interest in the darts season. There's not going to be a better way, rather than going to every tournament and kind of thinking, all right, I've got to work out who's in form, who's not in form, and who am I going to go with, and then be disappointed. You can pick yourself a roster here, a nice little mix of, your top players, your up and comers, your middle of the road guys, and then just follow them all season, and you're going to get points for how they perform in various events. And we're just going to have a look at the game in general and talk a little bit about potential strategies that you could employ. So for that purpose, I'm going to share my screen just so we can kind of talk you through it, and you could be seeing it kind of as we see it. So,
you just pay to enter your team. I think this is a European website, Zweeler, so it's converted to English pounds. I think it's about £8 to enter a team. And like Pieman says, you pick your roster. There's 18 players that you have to choose from. You get a massive budget, and obviously there's a mixture of the top players and some of the up and comers. And then your guys will accumulate points throughout the season. It includes all the big TV tournaments, as you would expect. And then this year, it actually includes the Players' Championship tournaments that usually take place away from the cameras, with the finals being on TV in December time. Won last year by Michael van Gerwen. So they're included. The Pro Tour events that, again, aren't normally on TV, they're included. So like Pieman says, you're getting a real feel for the whole season and how your guys are doing at different stages throughout the season, culminating in the World Championships.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. So basically, we're going to pop a link in our description, and just for a little bit of exposure, if you go through our link, we do get a tiny little bit of cash. It's not a lot, but it's money that we put towards the channels to help get the videos edited, and maybe like in the future hook up with people like Danny Baggish, and it allows us to grow as a channel a little bit like if you enjoyed our Danny Baggish interview and stuff like that. Hopefully we could do more of that kind of thing and continue to grow the channel out. So if you are going to play, click the link in our video description, and that'll take you straight through to the website. And this is what you'll be presented with. Now, you just need to register by clicking in the top corner here. That's nice and easy. It's very similar to, as Adam will tell you while I get the next piece up, it's very similar to your average betting site, really.
Yeah, so there's most of your betting sites have a similar kind of registration process, name, address, blah, blah, blah. You'll have to prove your age at some point and then just deposit like normal. And instead of having a bet on a football game that's, to take place, this really you're just paying into the pot of the fantasy league, if you like, your money goes into a pot, and then the top, sometimes it's more, but the top 10 players who accumulate the most points will share out the prizes. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, spot on. So as you can see, I've got 24 quid in the bank here. That's from a result of a darts win and a golf win, so we're doing well. And that's going to pay me in. You can enter multiple teams in this game if you want as well. So if you want to enter a couple of lineups just to give yourself a bit more cover and stuff, feel free. And I think £8, it might seem like a big outlay, but this is going to give you sort of 9 to 10 months of entertainment. So, I mean, in terms of entertainment value, you just can't beat it, I don't think. And they do run these season-long games for other sports as well, which is something we might take a look at in the future. But anyway, I'm just going to, for now, go down to darts on the drop-down menu. And as you can see, the one with enter, this is open now, it's live. The deadline is the 5th of March, which is the day that the UK Open starts. So if we click onto this, this is going to take us to the Fantasy Darts homepage. And this tells you a little bit about the game. As I was saying, £8 to come in for the UK members. You know, that's because it's a Euros conversion. And first prize, 438. But the thing I like about this is a good bulk of prizes as well. So even if you're finishing in the top 10, you're still getting like, you know, 3-figure payout and stuff. So it's a good bit of fun, and it'll keep you very much entertained for the season. There's various other games in there, including the Road to Ali Pali, which is something we might cover in another video again. And there will be a UK Open specific game that you can play. So if you just want to pick a team for the UK Open only, that'll be going on as well. So we might have a look at that nearer the time. Yeah. Here we go anyway. So I've had a look at it. I decided I'm going to have a go for my £8 to get in that £2 prize pool. So we create new team. That's where we would go. And here we are. So normally in Zweeler, with it being a tournament, you're going to pick quite a small team. You maybe have 5 or 6 players in your team for the tournament. Because this is a season long, you've literally got every darts player in the PDC to choose from. So they've been very generous. They've let you have 18 players with a very big budget. I think it's 250 something million. So here's a team that I've compiled earlier. Now, this isn't going to be my final team by any stretch. I'm just having a little bit of a play, working out who I wanted to go with. You notice I've got Gerwin Price and Michael van Gerwen in there at the moment, which has resulted in a little bit of a weak-looking bottom end of the team. But this is something we could go through. But I think the best way to show you how to do this would be just to go from scratch. So I'm going to click New Team. And as you can see, 255 million budget, and we've got to get 18 players picked. Here are all the players on the right of the screen. So Gerwin Price, your top man at 50 million, MVG, virtually the same at 47 million. They're going to take up a big bulk of your budget, but that's with good reason as well. They're going to win you a lot of points. So before I go any further, I just want to show you where we can get the points in this game. So if we go onto here, onto the game rules, these are the events that are going to get you points. Now, as you can see, the World Championship, as you would expect, plenty of points up for grabs there. And then they've split the events of the season into categories. They've got Premier events where of 64, 32 and 16. And these are worth different amounts of points. Now, these are the events where the top 16 qualify automatically, top 32, top 64. So obviously, there's more events where the top 64 are in play, less events. But obviously, if you're picking one of these top 16 players, yes, they're expensive, but they're going to give you more point scoring opportunities. So it's trying to find that balance of having the big hitters who are going to get you regular points and not missing out on those points, but also looking into the lesser events with the bigger field, someone who can pick you up players' championship points on a weekly basis, you know, by getting to the last 4 of these floor events, if you will. So we're going to actually take a look through just at what the info we've got here. So as I've kind of covered already, that's the way that you pick up points. The game's pretty simple. And now, these are the exact events and the points that they are worth. So as you can see here, the UK Open is classed as a Premier 64 tournament. We've got all these Players' Championship events down here. There's going to be potentially more of those. As you'll know, the darts schedule is a little bit all over the place at the moment with COVID. So, you know, subject to grow on this. The Premier League is a big one. That's got its own points tally, and that goes for standing in the Premier League, winning the Premier League, getting to finals night, avoiding relegation, all that kind of thing. So that's something to consider. And that's, as I'll come on to, one of the reasons why Johnny Clayton's provided such a popular pick so far, I think, in this game. Then we've got, as you would expect, World Match Play, Grand Slam of Darts, Grand Prix, all the majors. These ones at the back end of the year that we always have, and then the Ali Pali as well to finish us off. So my initial feeling on this, obviously it's very hard and people will look at it very differently because you know, it's easy to look at that and think, wow, that is a lot of events. Where do I even start? Well, I would suggest as a base for your team, you need to pick 2 or 3 big hitters that are going to get you points in all of these. And I'm talking right at the top of the shop, your MVGs, your Gerwin Price, your Peter Wright. Have at least one of those in your team, maybe 2. Then we're going to start filling it out slowly. You're going to need some budget boys at the bottom just to give you a little bit of flexibility with who you pick in the middle. So there we are. I'll let you, you know, if you're going to play this, I'm sure you'll have a look at the point structure yourself and work it out for yourself how you want to go about it. But we're going to go back on to picking a team. So 255 million to spend. As I say, you probably want to go in with one or maybe two of the big hitters. Adam, I don't know if you had a preference on any of these boys. I know we've talked a lot about Peter Wright and maybe how he's not as consistent as MVG and going price, but he is generally pretty good on the floor events.
On the tour, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it's a bit of a coin toss, really, and depending on what budgets you're taking. But any two of those three, I wouldn't argue with personally, Pieman across the season. I mean, going into individual tournaments, I would have different opinions on, what Peter Wright's doing with his equipment, what forms Van Gerwen in, his Gerwen price interest, blah, blah, blah. But as a whole season view, any two of them three would be fine by me. And as you've done there on screen, you've picked the two that are the cheapest. So, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I just thought for there, as we're saying, any two of the three, so we might as well save a few quid there. We've got two big hitters in there. Now, that is how I would go at it personally. Just a little tip as well. If you hover over the value, you can see how many players have picked that player. So going price in 59% of teams, MVG 37, Peter Wright 31. So already you're getting a bit of an edge on the field there, a bit of an unusual two picks compared to price. And there are some players who are notably way above where you would expect them. Mervyn King, for example,
being one of them,
67%. Yeah. I mean, Mervyn's firmly on the radar now, isn't he? He's no longer under the radar, I'm afraid you have to say. But so already, and this is quite helpful as well, as you start to add your players, this figure here is key. Bear this in mind. That is the average you have to spend on a player with what budget you've got left. So let me take these fellas out. Initially, if you divided it perfectly, your budget by 18, your average player cost would be 14 million, right? But if I start adding in a couple of big hitters, you can see what that's doing to my average player cost. So I am already thinking, right, I'm spending too much money here. I need to start going down to the lower end and putting a couple of budget options in. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to, I would say, start with players that you like, players that you think are going to have a good season, and just build that team out. When you get to 3 or 4 players left, you'll probably realize I've spent too much. And that's when you need to start going out, taking out people, maybe of a similar profile, and replacing them with a budget option that can get you a similar amount of points. So just at the bottom here, this is just an example I did on the team that I roughly created earlier. But Jason Heaver, I mean, he got his card yesterday at Q School as we're filming this. So he's going to be in the Pro Tour next year. Don't know a lot about him, obviously, but he's cheap as chips, and he's going to be playing on those Players' Championships events. He might be a little bit of an unknown commodity. 2.5 million. Yes, please get him in. Looking a little bit further down, another man that just got his 2 card, Gaten Inches. Let's put him in. And already our average value is starting to creep back up. And that's just going to give us a little bit more flexibility as we try and put these big boys in. Now, I'm going to look away from these certainly from going price. I personally think Nathan Aspinall is very highly priced at 31 million. So he wouldn't be for me. And then you're looking probably in this little group as a category, I think. You have to sort of think, if I have I can definitely have one of these. If I have 2 of these, it's going to significantly impact the remainder of my team. So me personally here, I'm looking at this range thinking I could probably only have one of between Dimitri Vandenberg and Gary Anderson. That's what I'm thinking. Now, Johnny Clayton, I see as an exception because he's in that 20s range, but he's at the cheap end of it. And he's also in the Premier League. Whereas if you compare that to the people around him, Dave Chisnell, Joe Cullen, Daryl Gurney, Ratajski, they're not in the Premier League. Yep. We've talked about Rob Cross on our other videos. His prospects aren't great at the moment. So, and that's reflected in his 17% selection.
That's pretty high, actually, Brian.
It actually is, yeah. Whereas Johnny Clayton, they're 54%. So a lot of people clearly agreeing with what I'm saying there, that because he's in the Premier League, he presents a great value choice for his ability. So we'll put Johnny Clayton in there. And I think we could probably get one more of these in, although we might have to revise that as we go. Out of them, for me, few question marks over Glenn Durrant's recent form and health. I just want to see a little bit more of him before I put him in personally. I think you could make a case for any of the remaining 4. Jose, possibly question marks over him with all that he's got in front of him this year, but he was fantastic on the floor last year. So yes. I can see a lot of people picking Jose there. Well, 29% is a little low. Dimitri, an obvious selection, but potentially a little bit too expensive. I'm going to go 4 million cheap. I'm going to go Michael Smith. Won a couple of Players' Championship events last year. Was a little bit unlucky in the Masters to go out the way he did. I think we might see a good year from Michael Smith. So I'm going to fire him in there. Always confident that he can get to sort of quarterfinals of TV events, no problem, and that'll accumulate you plenty of points throughout the season. Let's just drop it back down here to try and balance out that average a little bit. Now I'm in the range 60 to 70s. These are the players where you're looking for someone who's definitely going to be on the tour next year, because some of these guys have lost their cards, and some of these guys.
I was going to say, Prime Man, when would you consider the list on Zweeler to be definitive? I know that that Q School's ongoing. They've got another 3 weeks till March the 5th to enter this team. Would you say that the list on there is going to be updated or amended?
Well, the thing that you've got to consider is with tournaments like the UK Open, players, obviously it's changed. I don't want to go into the technicalities with the Riley's qualifiers being cancelled and stuff like that, but it has changed. It's not a normal year. There are normally a lot of opportunities for players outside of that 128 tour card holders to play in a lot more events, but that's not going to be the case this year. So I would suggest make sure you do your research. Make sure you're going in with someone that you're confident is going to be playing plenty of events this year. A couple of ways to do that. Get on dartsrankings.com. Have a look at the updated order of merit. Just see where you guys are. Just check that they're not going to lose a load of ranking points and suddenly drop out of that 64 or drop right down, because these guys outside the top 64, realistically, unless they go through, qualifiers or win an event somewhere, they're only going to get you points in the Players' Championship. So you're looking for maybe little sneaky players down here that are just on the verge of the top 64 or going to creep into the top 64. There are a few out there. Definitely. I mean, a fellow YouTuber, Matthew Edgar, 3.1 million. I mean, he's gonna turn up at every Players' Championship event, and I know he's got ambitions of getting himself into the top 50 this year. So he's had good runs in the past at the UK Open and the like. So he could be a great budget option at 3.1. We're going to pop him in anyway. Just scrolling a little bit further down, then we've got some players who, I mean, if Danny Baggish, as it stands, it's looking unlikely Danny's going to get through, unfortunately. But if he was to get through, I mean, you can see 28%. There's a lot of people hoping he is going to get through. And you also have to remember with players like Danny Baggish, because he's got that North American qualification route, he'll probably be at the World Championships regardless of whether he's got his card or not. So that's a scoring opportunity there. It's not like you're wasting a selection. There are some of these fellas further down who, quite frankly, unless they come through Q School, they're not going to get you a single point all year. And that is just a waste. You can get budget options that at least will give you point scoring opportunities. So make sure you're being shrewd with your cheap selections. I think if we're going right down here, you're probably looking to people who've qualified from Q School or are on the verge of sneaking in. You've got a Paul Lim there at 1.2 million. I mean, chances are he's going to turn up at the Worlds, and on the form, he'll probably win his first round match the way he normally rocks, Paul. So, players like that are an option. I wouldn't worry too much about this, and I think you can realistically, especially when you're first building your team, you could be looking above the sort of 3 million range and trying to build a team of competitive players. And then if you need to chuck in a couple of duds just to balance the budget, so be it.
Well, Martin Schindler was 81 on your list there, Pine Man. He averaged 123 in a game just recently.
Yeah, Martin Schindler's a great selection because he's one of these that if he does get his card, which is looking like it could happen as we speak, then he's a player that on his day can compete with anyone. So theoretically, I mean, you've got up to March the 5th to change his team. For now, we'll put Martin Schindler in. Now I'm going to go up to the little mid-range and we'll have a look at some of the players here. Now, this is interesting. At your 10 million, you've got your likes of Adrian Lewis. Jermaine Watamina, I think, is a very interesting selection because that's someone who can do damage on the floor. We've seen him reach a Players Championship final. Very erratic, but I reckon he'll score you points throughout the season. On his weeks where he turns up, he can go with the best of them. So I can see why he's got his suitors at 10 million and only 9% selection there. You've got to be bearing in mind, if you're going to go and win this thing, you need to have some of the less popular players that are going to outrun or outperform what people think. So I would definitely be having a look at Watamina and the likes. Let's pop him in. Ricky Evans is another one that I thought was badly undervalued, to be honest. 8 million. Ricky Evans is inside the top 32. So let's not forget. Ricky Evans,
only just. Yes. I think he is 32.
I think he's, as we speak, he's actually gone up to 30 because a couple of players have dropped. Right. But Ricky Evans, I mean, whilst you've got him in the top 32, there's a great option at 8 million. He's going to be playing in all the major events, all the TV events. That 32 threshold, those players around there, have a good look on the rankings because there's some players that I think are going to end up sneaking into that top 32 in the coming weeks and months. And then they become probably worth 4 or 5 million more than they're currently worth on these prices.
Just due to pure qualification. So that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. Purely because if they're getting that top 32, they're either getting into the later stages events, i.e., coming in at a later stage, or they're playing a weaker caliber of player in the first round because they're the seeded player.
Yeah.
Now you have obviously got this problem where if you are 32, you're in the same section of a draw as the world number one.
Yep.
But at least you're in that draw. It's better than picking a dud who doesn't make it into those draws. A couple of players that I'm going to put in that I think are really contenders to break the top 32 this year. Kim Hybrex, just sat outside the 32 at the moment. He's banging form. And another man that I'm going to search, Ryan Searle.
He's in mine as well.
There you go. Well, we're thinking along the same lines. Now we've got 12 of our 18 players in here, and we're building a nice little team, a nice little mixture. So I'm just going to have a scroll down the list generally here and see
Before
if
you go too far down, Pineman, I had Luke Humphreys was in my 5 to follow for the year. Another video we did, 8.7 million. I think, he was in mine. Yeah.
Yeah, Luke Humphreys is sure to be on the premises in a few.
I was just looking at that page where you are now. I'd much rather have him in than the likes of Jamie Hughes, who is plummeting down the rankings, if you ask me. Danny Noppert, Jeffrey Duzwan. I'd much rather have in that section, just what you see on screen there is value to be had, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's worth talking about extenuating circumstances as well. Let's not forget. If you've got a player who's going to have a period of time out, i.e. Dimitri Vandenberg is going to be out for a little while with his knee, recovering from his knee operation, that would be enough to put me off him at the prices for this particular game. He's someone I think is going to have a big year, but I mean, if I'm not going to be able to get any points from him for the first 2 months, then I'm not going to pay 30 million or whatever to have him in my team. Yeah. Now I agree, there's plenty of value here, and these are going to be the difference makers for me. Yeah. The sort of, every team is going to have a Van Gerwen, one of these boys, but there's so much choice in this section. If you get it right, these fellas are capable of getting as many points as some of the big lads. For example, not to pick on Nathan Aspinall, because I really like Nathan Aspinall, but there's no way I would have him twice the price of Damon Heta over the course of a season. I think Damon Heta and Nathan Aspinall, if they played tomorrow, I'd probably be with Heta, to be honest. So same applies for Stephen Bunting, really. I mean, this is a World Championship semi-finalist who's shown that he's in good form. So, yeah, again, he's 39% and Damon Heta 32%. So people are thinking along the same lines. Jeffrey Deswan, not surprising to see him low-owned. I would think Danny Noppert will be low as well, yeah. So not too many surprises, but if you have a good rush through, you can find some gems, I think. For the purposes of this video, another one I put in my ones to watch, and he's a bit higher in the prices than I would have liked, but Martijn Clearmaker, I think he's going to have a good year. So let's put Martijn in, and let's put Damon Heta in there. We've got 15 of our 18 now, and we've actually got a little bit more to spend than I thought we would. So that leads me to come back up here, and I think, right, maybe I can have one of these big hitters and pair them with a couple of sort of budget options. So I'm looking on this page again, and I'm looking for some value. Now, I know everyone's got him, but Mervyn King, there's a reason why everyone's got him. Tremendous value at 16.5 million. This is a man who's reached 2 finals from the last 3 televised events. Whether he can sustain this form for the season, we don't know. But there's no obvious reason to think that he won't. So I'm more than happy to put Mervyn in there at 16.5. And that still means I'm going to get 2 decent players in for my 23 million.
The only shock really is, Pineman, it took you 20 minutes to put Mervyn King in your team. I mean, we all knew it was going to happen. All the viewers knew that was going to happen. So you've just, kept them teasing us for 20 minutes.
I'm trying to get it so that the length of watching on our YouTube videos goes up a little bit. Don't want to give it all away too early, make people wait for it. Look, we've got 23.2 million. I'd be inclined to say let's get 2 people around the 11, 12 million mark in. So we've got 2 quality operators coming into our team. Out of these, look, I know we're not too keen on Jamie Hughes or Danny Noppert, but Adrian Lewis at 10.8 million looks like a decent value selection. And someone who also I've been big on, Scott Waits, there at 6.8 million. I think he's going to have a good year, certainly on the floor. So let's do that. Now, we've got 5.6 million left. That's your team picked. you might think, right, let's use this 5.6 million and get an upgrade. Yeah, I mean, you'll be unsurprised to hear that when I made my team, I had about 14 million left over. So I just love a budget player, really. But yeah, so I might at that point say, look, I don't need to have Jason Heaver and Gert Nugent in there. I can upgrade them. So let's take Jason Heaver out, upgrade him to someone in the sort of 4 or 5 million range.
8 million.
Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna upgrade Gert as well, I think.
Oh, okay.
So let's take both of these boys out, and now we can get sort of 4 or 5 million. Callum Ridd's an obvious one.
His percentage is high, you know. What's his?
Yeah, 42. I mean, that hasn't gone unnoticed, has it? And then we'd be looking at someone around this range. I think Sedlacek was very impressive and was very unlucky in the Worlds, I remember as well. So let's put Carell in. And yeah, I mean, look, you could upgrade Martin Schindler if you wanted there as well. And obviously just having a play around with it. There's no rush to submit this team. You've got until March the 5th. And when you submit it, that is 8-9 months of solid entertainment boxed in. The league table updates every day of a tournament. It's a great laugh. And I'm going to run a mini league as well for our YouTube viewers. So I can have up to 10 of us in it with our own little prize pot. So once I get that set up, I will put all the information in our video and I will mention it in one of our future videos as well so that you guys regular viewers can get involved. Make sure you sign up to Zweeler using the link below this video, our link. And then, yeah, I'll give you information of how to join the mini league. I'll also put that on our Twitter feed as well. So make sure you're following us on there. I think Adam's going to drop the information in the description of where to find us and stuff. But yeah, so look, I've made my team. I normally call it Pieman's Posse. Let's call it Pieman's Peeps. I've also 1990s. Yeah, let's just and finally they like you to pick the winner of the World Championship in all these games. So I'll just go for someone a bit more random this time.
It's not to be underestimated, that Pieman, because it's 100 points.
It's a big bonus.
So don't underestimate that.
Well, actually, I'm going to heed your advice there. It seems we haven't got Gerwin Price in our team. Let's put Gerwin Price as our predictions, and we've covered all bases. Yeah. And then, very important, once you've done all that, click Save the Team. And if you've done it all correctly, you'll get that. Your team is saved. Now, what that means is it's all there for you. The next time you log into Zweeler, you just go to My Teams and it'll be there.
If you click My Lineups at the top, it shows it quite nicely.
Yeah. So let's go down there. That's the one I made pre-show. Sorry, on the left. That's the one we've just made on the right. Yeah. So what you would do is to just go into there, edit.
And away you go.
And when you can edit it away, and then when you want to enter it, you click Pay Team. You'll get this screen come up, and I would just need to click Pay there. I'm not going to pay that yet because I might still have a fiddle around with it. But you click Pay, it'd take your £8 or whatever off, and you'd be in for the year, playing for your £2,500 prize pool. So yeah, get involved. It's going to be a cracker, and I'm sure we'll have a few more of these games for tournaments as the year goes on. And as I say, every time you click that link and sign up and play a game, it helps us grow a little bit as well. So please do have a look.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that'll wrap us up for today, Pieman. Very well explained. And yeah, hopefully some of the followers can get involved, and you're going to set up a mini league where there could be prizes for the winner of the doubles and trebles Zweeler mini league. I'll leave that on a bit of a cliffhanger to what those prizes may or may not be. Thanks for watching. Speak soon.
Cheers.